Member of Parliament of Constituency Number 5, Sean Richards, believes the 2023 budget is lacking in innovation, as promised by the presenter, Minister of Finance, and Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew. According to MP Sean Richards, the budget as presented remains highly dependent upon revenue derived under the Citizenship by Investment program, which the Minister of Finance indicated was not sustainable. On this matter, Richards contends that the budget falls short on innovation.
I think all of us can agree that it is not a sustainable practice, and it gives an amount of 54.9% in terms of the composition for revenue for the year 2021. I said I agree. And so, Madam Speaker, I went and I looked in the draft estimates, volume 1, to see what is so different in terms of going forward when you look at that dependence on CBI. And in looking at it, Madam Speaker, what I note is that for 2023, the expected revenue from CBI is $518.3 million, and that's based on revenue totaling $1 billion. So when you look at it, Madam Deputy Speaker, more than 50% of the revenue for the year 2023 is coming from CBI. And so that indicates to me, Madam Speaker, that there is still this heavy reliance on CBI revenue for fiscal year 2023. Hence, I ask the question, where is the innovation? What is new? Absolutely nothing. When you look at it, as a matter of fact, for 2024, the amount expected $466 million of $964 million. Almost 50% of the revenue, again coming from CBI.
When Dr. Drew responded, Richards was absent from Parliament. Nevertheless, the Minister of Finance commented on Richards' presentation.
I think that he may not have read the budget. I think that he may not have listened to the presentation of the speakers on this side. And therefore, if that is the case, then maybe I might absolve him from his responsibility. But in this sense, Madam Speaker, I want to point out a number of innovative, transformative things that will come from this budget. Let's look at transformation to a sustainable island state. That in itself tells you that we are moving our nation in a particular direction where it can sustain itself, Madam Speaker. That is a lofty goal. That speaks, of course, that we are serious about making St. Kitts and Nevis viable, resilient not only in terms of its economy, but resilient physically and structurally to deal with the changes of climate. We would have spoken about, of course, in achieving this, we have to look at our water situation. For 7 years, no real investments were made in water on St. Kitts. Madam Speaker, you heard the minister responsible for water, spoke about the water board and the innovations of having diesel plant driven by solar energy.
According to the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, there is innovation demonstrated in the budget in areas such as energy, education, health, and IT. Glenn Bart reporting for Skn Newsline.
Outgoing Senator and Junior Minister in the Nevis Island administration, Hazel Brandy Williams, has branded the leadership of the CCM-led administration she was a part of in the past 5 years as characterized by self-aggrandizement, arrogance, and disrespect. In a recorded statement on the eve of the Nevis Island Assembly elections, Mrs. Brandy Williams praised the leadership of former Premier Vance Amory, under whose tenure she served her first term in the NIA, and had a damning assessment of the current CCM leadership.
In my second term of office, I witnessed the steady hand of late Premier Amory and his respect for others being replaced by brash disregard for people. His modus operandi of teamwork and the consideration of differing opinions being replaced by self-aggrandizement. While Premier Amri's emphasis was on the empowerment and elevation of others, this has been replaced with the belittling, demeaning, and threats of being made irrelevant meted out to anyone who dares to disagree with those at the top. I have found that this manner of leadership has stymied the spirit of innovation and critical thinking that once existed and which served to propel our island forward. This manner of leadership quickly proved divisive and so ushered in the retardation of our island's progress.
The former minister said she has been ostracized by the leadership of the NIA.
With my basic tenets being integrity, transparency, and accountability, coupled with my firm ideals for inclusion and respect for others, I found it difficult in accepting, condoning, or conforming to this adverse manner of leadership. As a result, I found myself ostracized by my own political party, not for lack of qualification, certainly not for lack of performance, definitely not for misappropriation of funds, and absolutely not for pilfering of government's resources. Instead, I was ostracized for taking a stand for the right treatment of Nevisians, respect for all, and for doing too much for the people of Nevis.
He further alleged that social programs that started by her in the previous term were discontinued by the government as they were not deemed priorities. Despite her criticism, however, she thanked Premier Mark Brantley and her former cabinet colleagues for giving her an opportunity to serve in the NIA. Premier Brantley, over the weekend, in a Facebook post, said despite challenges and attacks on him by his political opponents and fake social media profiles, he was thankful to have prevailed and won the elections. Part of his post read, "People from within CCM's bosom betrayed the party, conspired with the NRP, and fueled the attacks from within and without. Some public servants openly campaigned against us, while others frustrated our supporters and undermined us daily. And yet, after all that, here we are, still standing and still strong." The CCM won the NIA elections on Monday, December 12th, winning 3 of the available 5 seats. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline. When you're looking to sell, buy, rent, or manage a property, your answer has to be Diamond Real Estate and Management St. Kitts, Dreams. They provide oversight of real estate and physical property in St. Kitts and Nevis, perform regular maintenance, utility payments, and safety checks to ensure your property is well kept. Dreams manages and optimizes your rental listing, recruits tenants, and much more. Looking to sell that parcel of land or property, or dreaming of owning your own? Trust Dreams under the leadership and experience of its CEO, Velma Merchant. Many can attest to her professionalism and customer service. Diamond Real Estate Management St. Kitts. Call 663-7326 or visit their office at 15 Shadwell Industrial Estate, making your real estate dreams come true. The holiday season is approaching, and now is the time to get the message out about your business. Skn Newsline introduces special advertising rates for the Christmas season with our Christmas specials. You can advertise on Skn Newsline Newscast or send special holiday greetings to the general public with our Christmas greetings on both Skn Newsline and Voice of the Caribbean Radio at affordable prices. Call our marketing department for more information, 665-7496, or email advertising@sknnewsline.com. 'Tis the season to be jolly, so enjoy our Christmas specials at Skn Newsline and Voice of the Caribbean Radio and promote your business the effective way this holiday season.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports. all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips. Nestled between evergreen mountains and the Caribbean Sea on the island of St. Kitts is the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center. With breathtaking views, a rugged, beautiful shoreline, and immaculate manicured gardens make this the perfect location for your holiday, event, or wedding. With a large convention center, apartments with balconies providing stunning views, and a secluded cottage for larger family groups or honeymooning couples looking for some privacy. We have something for everyone. Book your stay at www.millhouseskn.com or visit our Facebook page, the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center, an oasis of tranquility.
During a handover ceremony on 19th December, the Embassy of the Republic of China on Taiwan was named Double Diamond sponsor of Sugar Mass 51. Ambassador Michael Lin presented the Carnival Committee with a check amounting to EC $1.4 million, accepted by Shannon Hawley, chairperson of the St. Kitts and Nevis National Carnival Committee. In a Facebook post of the National Carnival Committee, Hawley is quoted as saying, quote, "With this being the first full-format carnival since the pandemic, additional funds were needed to assist in the production of the overall event in order to have the best Sugar Mass ever," end quote, as she expressed thanks and appreciation to the government and people of the Republic of China on Taiwan. Glenn Bart reporting for Skn Newsline.
John Francis, the proprietor of the Godfather Beach Bar on South Friars Bay Beach, is relieved that he is still able to operate his business several years after it was on the verge of closing due to a development of a hotel that was earmarked for the area. In 2018, Francis and operators of other beach bars on South Friars Bay were being evicted to make way for what was supposed to be a Ritz-Carlton hotel to be built in that vicinity. The plan for the hotel appears to have stalled, and Francis resumed operations of his bar on the beach.
What has happened is that I think we, as a collective on the beach, we got together. We have an association called the South Friars Beach Bar Association, which there's only three bars they're running at the moment. There's Godfather, Shipwreck, and there's Discovery, and we found out what our legal entitlements were, or is, and that is that the beach is Crown land basically, and we were actually situated on Crown land, and so we put that forward and says, well, we have all entitlement to be there, just like other bars in St. Kitts are on Crown land. So that conversation the eviction conversation came to an end there, but I hear there were development plans afoot, but that I don't hear anything about development plans or hotels being planned over there.
Mr. Francis said the efforts to have the businesses removed from the beach back in 2018 affected the livelihood of the business owners.
The beach over there it's a labour of love, it was hard. I mean, Shipwreck took off, left. Not knowing where you're going, it disrupted people, didn't know whether we were open or not. It was disruptive, but that lasted for about a year, and it's been quite a while now since there's been no talk about development over there.
So
but
in your view, everything is back to normal?
Yeah, back to normal. We'll see. It's down to who's going to come again with another proposal, and is the government going to accept their proposals, on our behalf, so to speak. Maybe that the new generation of politicians would be a bit more transparent and come to us and ask us what we think about certain things before they make decisions on our behalf. I think we should really know what's going on.
In early 2020, then Tourism Minister Lindsey Grant said negotiations were still being held with the Ritz-Carlton. It is still not certain whether the hotel will materialize on St. Kitts. I'm Andre Huey for Skn Newsline. When you're looking to sell, buy, rent, or manage a property, your answer has to be Diamond Real Estate and Management St. Kitts, Dreams. They provide oversight of real estate and physical property in St. Kitts and Nevis, perform regular maintenance, utility payments, and safety checks to ensure your property is well kept. Dreams manages and optimizes your rental listing, recruits tenants, and much more. Looking to sell that parcel of land or property, or dreaming of owning your own? Trust Dreams under the leadership and experience of its CEO, Velma Merchant. Many can attest to her professionalism and customer service. Diamond Real Estate Management St. Kitts. Call 663-7326 or visit their office at 15 Shadwell Industrial Estate, making your real estate dreams come true. The holiday season is approaching, and now is the time to get the message out about your business. Skn Newsline introduces special advertising rates for the Christmas season with our Christmas specials. You can advertise on the Skn Newsline Newscast or send special holiday greetings to the general public with our Christmas greetings on both Skn Newsline and Voice of the Caribbean Radio at affordable prices. Call our marketing department for more information, 665-7496, or email advertising@sknnewsline.com. 'Tis the season to be jolly, so enjoy our Christmas specials at Skn Newsline and Voice of the Caribbean Radio and promote your business the effective way this holiday season.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one. If you're looking for a place to host that special event, conference, meeting, social event, party, whatever the occasion, your best option is the Millhouse Convention Center, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Located on the picturesque Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guesthouse Convention Center has enough space for outdoor events overlooking the Caribbean Sea. If you're looking indoors, the center is equipped with amenities needed to make your event a success. And by combining both spaces, you're sure to have a memorable event, no matter the occasion. Call the offices at Millhouse Guesthouse and Convention Center to book your next event on simply the most beautiful place in St. Kitts. Call 668-1392. Millhouse Convention Center at Garvey's Estate, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Making your event memorable.
The fight for FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried to resist extradition to the US has reportedly come to an end. He was seen escorted under heavy security to a courthouse in the Bahamas on Monday, where a source close to the proceedings says Bankman-Fried agreed to be sent to the United States. There he faces fraud charges related to the collapse of FTX, his cryptocurrency exchange. Bankman-Fried has been accused of orchestrating one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history, as U.S. prosecutors describe it. They say he embezzled billions from his customers to invest in his hedge fund Alameda Research. At Monday's hearing, Bankman-Fried's local attorney told the magistrate he didn't know why his client was brought to court and was not ready to consent to the extradition process. However, Bankman-Fried then requested to see the indictment filed against him in federal court in New York last week before consenting to extradition. He was then allowed to speak to his US counsel over the phone before being taken back to a prison. Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF, was once one of the biggest names in crypto and was at one point worth $26 billion. He also became a substantial donor in politics, media, and other causes. But after reports Bankman-Fried secretly moved $10 billion of customer funds to prop up his own investments, traders rushed to withdraw funds from FTX last month. In interviews since, Bankman-Fried acknowledged there were oversight failings at FTX, but did not personally think that he has any criminal liability. His decision to consent to extradition following his arrest in the Bahamas last week would pave the way for him to appear in U.S. court to face wire fraud, money laundering, and campaign finance charges.
Agriculture Minister Adrian Thomas has announced the opening of a secretariat to facilitate the move to legalize marijuana.
But we have gone a step further because we are talking about legalizing it for medicinal purposes. Since then, Madam President, we have put in place a commission to coordinate that activity. In January, we'll be opening the secretariat so that the necessary work can be done. Madam President, there will be a CEO in the secretariat to do the day-to-day operation.
The intent to decriminalize marijuana was one of the issues championed by the National Democratic Congress on the campaign trail in the lead-up to the 2023 general elections. It was the NDC's former female political leader, Mrs. Franca Alexis Bonadine, who announced her party's intent to pursue the decriminalization of cannabis.
If this present administration fails to act on the recommendations of the report and refuses to establish the framework to study and implement the recommendations, as well as the decriminalizing issues which are supported by the people, the NDC commits to doing so as a priority on forming the government.
The New National Party, which initially had thrown cold water on plans to decriminalize marijuana, subsequently bought into the idea and advanced the legal draft tabled in Parliament. With Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell at the helm, Minister Thomas says the government has gone one step further.
There will be extensive consultation with the general public involving education programs because our people must understand what this industry is all about. We want them to be part of it. And therefore, Madam President, we have allocated over $400,000 to that first phase for the preliminary work. In 12 months' time, Madam President, the necessary legislations must be in place and will be in place. And will be ready to cultivate and process the necessary products from the cannabis.
He said there are organizations waiting to get on board.
Institutions like the FAO, CADI, ICA, UNDP, they are all calling to assist some way or the other. And if when the call is made, we don't have the structure in place to brace the opportunity with both hands, we will be failing the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique.
Government named former Senator Rolanda McQueen as chairman of a 12-member commission on cannabis legalization and regulation. Their task includes holding broad-based consultations and engaging in public awareness on the policy decision to legalize cannabis within a legal and regulatory framework. Cherry and Blackman Stephen, JBN News.
More now on that breaking news we were just bringing you a few minutes ago. A court in Germany has given its verdict in the case of a 97-year-old woman who was accused of complicity in the Holocaust. This was Irmgard Furchner, who has now been given a 2-year suspended sentence. She had worked as a secretary at the Stutthof concentration camp in what is now Poland. Let's talk a bit more now about this with our Europe regional editor Paul Moss, who's been following the story. Extraordinary story, really, Paul.
It is.
97 years of age.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it got more extraordinary as it went on. She was caught all these years later, living in an old people's home in Germany. One little detail, she managed to escape at one point. She actually evaded the people who were trying to put her in on trial and got as far as Hamburg before she was recaptured. Yeah, as you said, she was a secretary when she was a teenager in the last couple of years of the war at the Stutthof concentration camp near what is now Gdansk. And the prosecution argument was that by being there, by doing that work, she made the operation run smoothly, and it was an operation which left 65,000 people dead. The inmates were Jews, as was so often the case in concentration camps, but also Polish and Russian partisans. And indeed, there were some Norwegians there who'd refused to cooperate in the occupation of their country. And yeah, the prosecution case, that by being there, by working there, she was partially responsible for what happened.
And what happened then during the course of this trial, and what was her defence?
She stayed quiet most of the time. She stayed silent in the court. And the defence argument was that, quite simply, she didn't know what was going on at the camp. She was, you know, a secretary, nothing more than that. The prosecution say this was ludicrous. 65,000 people being either murdered or dying of the various diseases. You may be aware that it was been a common defence of Nazis who were caught after the war. We didn't know. So she had trouble arguing that case, and indeed it seems that the court hasn't accepted her argument and did indeed hold her responsible. And, you know, I think it says something about the scale, doesn't it, of the Holocaust. This was a relatively small camp. Only, and I say that in quotes, only 65,000 people died there.
She's a very old lady. She's 97 years old. She is now facing a 2-year sentence, but suspended. So it's not very likely to be enforced, presumably. But I suppose it does demonstrate symbolically that age is no barrier to justice.
I think the word symbolically you're using is perfect. This was clearly a symbolic trial to establish something. The prosecution described it as a historic trial for several reasons. One argument being this could be the last trial of its kind. I mean, we're talking about events that happened 80 years ago. The vast majority of the victims and the perpetrators are long dead. It was a chance for the victims, those who are still alive, to provide testimony in court, and indeed that dominated the proceedings, given that she was silent. They talked about the suffering that went on there. Right at the end, Irmgard Faulkner said she was sorry about what happened, and she was sorry about the fact that she was at the camp but didn't admit her guilt. I think also what's interesting, to me, this case in some ways reflects the modern way we see the Holocaust. People think of the perpetrators as, you know, sadistic guards beating people to death, forcing them into the gas chambers. But the Holocaust was an extraordinary bureaucratic operation. 9 million people were murdered. This takes some organising. There were the people who arranged the trains, the people who commissioned the building work for the gas chamber. All of this, and more, it's seen as a great bureaucratic process in which many, many people played their role. And so by prosecuting a secretary, to me this was emphasising that aspect of it, that many, many were complicit, perhaps not those who were so obviously so. As you say, giving a 97-year-old woman a 2-year suspended sentence, she's not going to be going to prison anytime soon, I suspect. They were trying to make a symbolic point, and they've made it.
Yeah. Absolutely fascinating. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Paul Moss there, our Europe Regional Editor. Thank you.
Ghana suspended payments on part of its foreign debt on Monday as the country undertakes debt restructuring in line with a bailout deal with the International Monetary Fund. The West African state is facing an economic crisis with inflation at more than 50% and its cedis down sharply, hit by the adverse effect of global pandemic and Ukraine crisis. The government, however, said the suspension would exclude payment of multilateral debt, new debt contracted after December 19, 2020, or debt related to certain short-term trade facilities. Once seen as investor favorite, Ghana struggled recently with a debt burden. The government suspended more than half of its revenue on debt serving. The fall in the cedi increased debt value by $6 billion just this year. 3 major international rating agencies have downgraded Ghana's debt in a sign of investor worries over its potential for defaulting. Last week, Ghana agreed on a $3 billion credit deal with the IMF to tackle its economic crisis.
Fast Cash Saddlers FC is one of the most improved teams in the SKNFA Premier League over the past 2 seasons. The 2022 football year was no exception. While they were probably expected to make a consistent run for playoff qualification, which they failed to do, they remained threats to the so-called big teams and occasionally notched points from them. For this season, Saddlers finished with 26 points, winning 7 matches, drawing 5 and losing 10. They did lose some big-name players early in the season to other clubs such as Connery FC and Cairn Rockets FC, but with a core of young and experienced players, Saddlers are poised to do well if they can assure greater consistency in the new season.
Welcome to the Skn Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boole. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. For a more detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.